What's up guys, it's your boy JT here coming at you with another deck profile video from the 2004 winner, who was Masatoshi Togawa, and he played Chaos Control. Starting up, he had one Blackluster Soldier and by the beginning, pretty net card, you just banish the Light and Dark from your grave to summon him, and you can either target a monster on the field and banish it, but you can't attack that turn with this card, or if it destroys a monster by battle, it can declare another attack in a row. Which is pretty nuts, just the spot removal of a monster with BLS. Next up, you got Chaos Emperor Dragon, who summon the same way as BLS, but his effect is pay a K, send all cards in both players' hands and on the field to the grave, then inflict 300 damage to your opponent for each card sent this way. So what you're doing here is you pay a K, put a load of damage into your opponent, and basically just reset the game state to a point where you're just both top decking cards. And it's pretty nuts as far as I'm concerned. Next up, Jinzo. Basically just no traps while it's face up. Next up, he ran 2 Kaiku, which is pretty decent because it lets, when it inflicts damage to your opponent, you can target 2 monsters in their grave, banish those targets. And also, while this card's face up, your opponent cannot banish cards from either player's graveyards, which stops them from summoning beat sticks such as BLS or Chaos Emperor Dragon. Next up, he ran 1 Tribe Infecting Virus. This card's effect, you just discard a card from your hand and declare 1 type of monster. You destroy all monsters of the declared type on the field. Pretty nuts. Say they Scapegoat, you just pitch a card and call beasts. All their go tokens go. Next up, he had 1 Breaker the Magical Warrior. Breaker is pretty nuts back then because it was basically just summon and it became a beat stick, but it also allowed you to remove back row with its effect. So when it's summoned, it gains 1 spell counter, which it gains a maximum of 1, and it gains 300 attack for each spell counter on it. And you can remove a spell counter to pop a spell or trap on the field. Next up, he ran 3 DD Warrior Lady, which is pretty nuts because it's basically just battle anything and just remove it. So after damage calculation, when this card battles an opponent's monster, you can banish that monster, also banish this card. So what you can do is set it, say they run into it with a beat stick, such as BLS. You can, when it flips up, after damage calc, effect, banish both, and both of them are out the game pretty much, because I don't know if DDR was around in this time. Next up, you have 1 Shining Angel. When it's destroyed by battle and sent to grave, you can special summon 1 light monster with 1 5 or less attack from your deck in face-up attack position. So I'm guessing the target for this is either DD Warrior Lady, who has exactly 1 5 attack, or, well, there's no point in summoning Magician of Faith, really, unless you want to waste a Book of Moon, which he's not running. So yeah, so you'd summon your DD Warrior Lady off of that, most probably. Next up, you got the duo of Witch of the Black Forest and Sangan, both of which, when they're sent from field to grave, you add 1 monster with 1 5 or less defense for Witch of the Black Forest and 1 5 or less attack for Sangan. These basically just great searches. Witch of the Black Forest can search basically everything except for these 2. BLS and Chaos Emperor Dragon search Jinzo, Kaiku, Tribe. Can't search DD Warrior Lady, but that's what Sangan can search for. Sangan can't search for any of these big guys, or Tribe Infecting Virus, or break it, but it can search for DD Warrior Lady, Shining Angel. You can even search a Witch of the Black Forest, and it can even search Magician of Faith, which also Witch of the Black Forest can search. Then they've got 2 Magician of Faith, pretty much flip effect, add a spell card from your grave to hand. Then they have 1 Magical Scientist. This card is nuts. It's basically just pay 1,000 life points to special summon 1 level 6 or lower fusion monster from your X deck in face-up attack or defense position. It can't attack your opponent's life points directly. There's return to the X deck at the end of the turn. But doesn't prevent you from attacking with it. So some of the targets this guy was running, you could just summon them, and it could literally negate a Magician of Faith from going off, sort of thing. Next up, you had one Sinister Serpent. It's just free discard fodder. If it's in your grave during your standby, add it to hand. Next up, we'll get onto the spells. Confiscation, pay a K, get hand knowledge, and pitch a card from your opponent's hand. One Heavy Storm, just local spells and traps. One creature swap. You take one of your opponent's monsters, they take one of yours. Only problem with this is they choose the monster of theirs that you get, and but you get to choose the monster of yours that they get. So you could say give them a goat token if they have just a BLS on board, which is pretty nice. Next up, you've got Forceful Century, which is without the cost of a K. You look at your opponent's hand, select a card among them, and you just shuffle into their deck. It's basically a 1-for-1, but you get the hand knowledge. Next up, you got one Dark Hole, pretty self-explanatory, just destroy monsters on the field. Pot of Greed, no clue what it does, but I hear it's good. Next up, there's one Nobleman of Cross out, target a set monster, destroy it, and if you do, banish it. Then, if there's a flip monster, each player reveals their main deck, and then banishes all cards from it with the monster's name. Pretty good, because say you target a Magician of Faith, you've just removed their Magician of Faith from play, but also your own. But it means you don't need to go into, say, Dark Bolter, and instead of risking going into that Magician of Faith and then adding back, say, Pot of Greed or Graceful Charity. Speaking of which, next up, Graceful Charity, draw 3, and then pitch 2 cards. Dig deep in the deck, and it's not even a neg, it's a 0 in advantage, pretty much. Well, no, it is a 0 in advantage, but say you pitch a Sinister Serpent, you get that back in the standby phase. It's basically it's a +1, pretty much. Next up, Monster Reborn, just summon the monster from other players' graveyards. Next up is Smashing Ground. Literally, this just pops the monster your opponent controls with the highest defense. Say they're tied, you choose. Next up, free Mystical Space Typhoon. This card was such a staple for such the longest time because it's the most generic removal there is out there. It's just activate, pop a spell or trap. Next up, they ran 2 Scapegoats. Now what Scapegoat does is, well, summons 4 goat tokens, but during the turn you activate it, they can't be tributed, and you can't summon them with monsters the turn you activate this effect. But you can normal set. Next up's Mirage of Nightmare, Nuts card. During your opponent's standby phase, draw cards until you have 4 cards in your hand. And if you do, during your next standby phase after that, randomly discard the same number of cards you drew, or your entire hand. But what you could do, activate this, opponent's standby phase, you draw 4. Then you Mystical Space Typhoon it. So you've got 4 cards in hand. Next turn, you draw a card, and then you don't pitch because Mirage of Nightmare is gone. Next up, one Snatch Steal Nuts card. It was around for a format a couple of years ago. It's just take control of an opponent's monster. They gain 1,000 life points each of their standby phases, but it's worth it because you could steal a beta or anything. So you steal their BLS. Chaos Emperor Dragon I don't think could linger around, so you just steal their BLS, say, and you can poke them for, say, 3k. You're doing an extra 2,000 damage on top of the damage you get from the Snatch Steal. Next up is Premature Burial, pretty self-explanatory. Pay 100, summon the monster from your graveyard. Basically equip this card to it. If this card leaves the field, destroy the equipped monster. Last up, we'll go into the traps. They ran 1 Mirror Force, self-explanatory. When your opponent attacks, destroy all monsters in attack position your opponent controls. 2 Torrential Tribute, pretty self-explanatory. When a monster is summoned, just destroy monsters on the field. Ring of Destruction, this is the pre-errata, so you both take the damage at the same time. But what it does is it target one, face a monster, destroy it, and if you do, inflict damage to both players equal to its attack. So what this card allowed you to do was you could draw the game before because you both take the damage at the same time. But with the errata now, you take the damage first, and then you can lose before your opponent would lose because they have to take damage equal to the damage you take. But with this one, you both take the damage at the same time. It's basically just good removal if you've got the life points. And last up, one called the Haunted, basically just summon anything back. If you properly summon your Blackluster Soldier, summon him, or Chaos Emperor Dragon. Pretty nuts, really, in this format. We'll have a quick look at the side deck, and then I'll go on to the extra deck. Because it's 23 cards, it's on another deck list on here, so I'll get to that after now. Let's have a look at the side quick then. So you got one Air Knight, Parshath, does piercing, and you draw a card if it does damage. One Berserk Gorilla. If it's in face of defense, destroy it. It must attack if able. It's just a beat stick. One Don Zalug, basically just pitch. When does damage, pitch a card from your opponent's hand, or send the top 2 cards from the deck to the grave. But you're probably better off pitching the card from the hand. One Mystic Tomato, or Tomato, for you Americans out there. When it's destroyed and sent to grave, you can special summon one dark monster with 1/5 or less attack from your deck in face up attack position. Face up? Yeah, oh yeah, face up, yeah, sorry, yeah. For some reason I thought I said face down, but oh well. So basically just get you to, Witch of the Black Forest, Sangan, or Magical Scientist. Next up, Spirit Reaper. Comes from a battle, if it's targeted, destroy it. And when it inflicts damage to your opponent, pitch a card from their hand. Last step, they've got one creature swap in the side. Pretty self-explanatory, same as in the main. Another Nobleman for if they're running more flip monsters. Then Free Book of Moon, basically just target a monster, set it. One Wabaku, your monsters can't be destroyed and you take no damage. That's in. Time Seal, skip the draw phase of your opponent's next turn. Nuts cards, I can never see it coming back. Just for the fact of skipping your opponent's draw phase is just stupid. When Magic Cylinder. When your opponent monster declares an attack, target the attacking monster, negate the attack, and if you do, inflict damage to your opponent equal to its attack. Pretty self-explanatory. Negate an attack and deal damage to your opponent, and then 2 Royal Decree for trap heavy decks. Let's get into the extra deck then. 3 Roaring Ocean Snake and 3 Punish the Eagle. Both have 2/1 attack and 1/8 defense, so I'm pretty sure they're just beat sticks for the time. 3 Ryu Senshi. A fusion summon this monster. As long as this card remains face up on the field, negate the effects of normal trap cards by paying 1,000 life points. Negate the effects of a spell card that targets this card and destroy it. Basically just a control-y card. But it's just silly. If your opponent has multiple traps, they can just rip through your life points because this is mandatory, I'm pretty sure. 3 Dark Bolter, basically just no flip effects when it battles a monster. And you pay a K to negate a normal spell. Oh no, it just stops the effect. So say you hit a Sangan or Witch of the Black Forest, nothing. Thousand Eyes, just control, pure control. Just monsters can't change their positions, and monsters other than this card can't attack. And you can just steal an opponent's monster and equip it to this card. Gets the attacker's attack. You can also target a set monster. It doesn't gain the attack, but it's just a nice bit of removal. 1 Beast Skull Dragon. Not sure how they'd summon it, but it's just a beat stick. 1 Fiend Skull Dragon. Basically flip effect monsters, can't activate the effects, and negate any trap that would target it and destroy it. 1 Guiltier the D-Knight. Just a beat stick. 2 Magician King, pretty sure they're just beat sticks. 2 Reaper of the Nightmare. If it's targeted by spell, trap, or effect monster, destroy it. And it can attack your opponents directly, even if their monsters are on the side of the field. Well, that's the point of the effect, isn't it? And if it attacks your opponent's life points directly, your opponent discards 1 card from his or her hand. Basically just another Spirit Reaper. 1 Dark Fire Dragon. Pretty sure it's just be summoned, get a bit of damage on the board. And 1 Flame Ghost, just extra damage on board. Anyway, that's the deck profile, guys. See ya.